What is going on, Just Saying Nation, and welcome back to a brand new video. This is going to be our NFL expectations tier list throughout the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. This tier list is going to cover 4 main criteria: strength of schedule, how close the wins or losses have been, overall win-loss record, and expectations going into this season. So stick around and find out where your team falls in our tier list. And thank you for clicking on this video. Take a moment to leave a like, subscribe so you don't miss out on any new content. Reminder, there will be no podcast this week. No podcast. And if you follow our socials, including our Facebook and Instagram, we will keep you updated on any new information that comes out. With all that being said, let's get right into the video. So without further ado, starting off with one of my teams, one of two, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are 0-4 to start this season. They lost 24-20 against the Texans, by the way. But they blew it. The Texans scored with 18 seconds left to take the lead in the fourth quarter. So based on the expectations that were on the Jags coming into this season and Trevor Lawrence signing that massive extension, they're in abysmal.
Yeah, I agree. People maybe didn't think they would be Super Bowl contenders, but they certainly thought they would take a step forward to make the playoffs, especially after entrusting Trevor Lawrence with basically the keys to the franchise for the next 5 years. It's pretty bad. It is a pretty bad look, and I wouldn't be surprised if Doug Peterson is gone after this year.
This team should be better than this. Not really much else to say. Another team that had not like high expectations, but was expected to be better than what they were, are the Tennessee Titans. They have an 0-3 record, but they do have a game tonight or tomorrow night against the Dolphins.
Right.
So pending that game, Shay, if they win and they go 1-3, I still think they might be abysmal. But do you think maybe they move up to needs improvement?
I think they would still be abysmal unless Will Levis comes out and has an amazing game. The amount of turnovers he's had, and the mistakes that he has made, along with just the Titans team in general not looking very good, I would, unless he comes out and has a fantastic game against the Dolphins, which is possible, they would still be abysmal in my opinion.
I don't think they were expected to make the playoffs, really, but definitely to be better than what they were. Now, my Bengals. I'm so relieved that we got the win.
Yes.
We still,
as of this recording, you guys did win today.
Yes, we won 31-24 against the Carolina Panthers, who last week did have the best offense in the league. Still, giving up 24 points against the Panthers is a big red flag. Our defense still needs a ton of work. So while I'm relieved we got the win, I am still not happy with where this team's at. And with that, with the 1-3 record, they're still an abysmal. This is a team that was viewed coming into this season as a top contender in the AFC, a Super Bowl contender, and a 1-3 record is not bad.
Yeah, if they lost today, I would say abysmal, but since they won, I would say needs improvement, in my opinion.
I mean, I could see the argument for needs improvement because the offense has been there, but yeah, I'll agree with you. I'll move them up to needs improvement, but they are really teetering on.
Yeah, if they lose next week, abysmal.
Yeah. Up next, the Carolina Panthers, who have a 1-3 record. Andy Dalton. How about Andy Dalton though?
He has saved the Carolina Panthers a complete resurgence.
Which, depending on how you're looking at, that might be a bad thing because now you've benched Bryce Young, who's supposed to be the future starter for your franchise. So, are they abysmal or are they just needing improvement based on the expectations coming into the season?
So the expectations coming into the season were that they were still going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I don't think they're abysmal anymore, at least a quarter of the way through the season.
I'll agree with you. So up next, the New York Giants. They are 1-3. They almost made a huge meme out of the Cowboys when they lost to them, but it was only 20-15.
Yeah.
So Malik Neighbors, though, looks like
Star.
he's going to be a stud.
Yep.
The expectation, I think, for the Giants was they weren't going to make the playoffs. So for me, I would put them in just right.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're pretty much where people expected them to be.
Now the Rams, they lost against the Bears,
Yes.
which might be a bad loss. But they're also tough because coming into the season, they had high expectations. But with all the injuries they have had, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, it makes it a little bit tougher. So do we put them in abysmal or do we put them in needs improvement? Personally, for me, I would just put them in needs improvement.
Yeah, the fact that they beat the 49ers, I don't think they're abysmal. I think they are needs improvement.
If they had won today, I might have had them in just right because they would have been 2-2. But with the loss against the Bears, I think it drops them down.
Yeah.
To needs improvement.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the Cleveland Browns. I don't think they've met expectations.
No, their expectations were pretty high, make the playoffs, especially their defense last year. They were expected to have a great defense again this year. Deshaun Watson was coming back, supposed to be fully healthy, get back to the old Deshaun Watson. That hasn't happened. So I agree with you there.
Could we argue that their start has been abysmal?
You could argue it, but Nick Chubb still hasn't come back. He was
True.
put on the IR immediately, so he could be back next week. So I think there needs improvement, not abysmal.
All right, moving on. The Las Vegas Raiders. I feel like the expectations weren't really high, but not really low either. But I had them at just right.
Yeah, I'd say they're probably there. Gardner Minshew has looked really well for the Raiders, so that has been a nice surprise for a lot of fans and a lot of the NFL. But people thought their defense would probably be better. So I'd say they're probably just right as well.
20-16, just one against the Browns. So both teams stay in the same spot. Now the Ravens, I'm just going to put them in needs improvement.
Yeah, that's where
I think that's pretty agreed. Their defense, after being a top 3 defense in the league last year, has not looked great.
Yep.
They almost blew it against the Cowboys when they had a 28-6 lead.
Correct.
They play the Bills tonight. They've had a pretty tough schedule so far. A lot of the games have been close, very close, but I think with the expectations that they would be a Super Bowl contender, I think they've been pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they've utilized Derrick Henry as much as people would have liked them to do. And Lamar has looked pretty good to still start the year, but I think as a whole, the team is not where their expectations were.
Yeah. Now, the Miami Dolphins are also a tough one because if they had Tua and they're 1-2, I would say they're in needs improvement, teetering on abysmal.
Mm-hmm.
But with Tua going down with injury, them being 1-2, I would still say they need improvement, but teetering on like maybe just right based on the fact that they don't have Tua.
Yeah, if they win Monday night, I'd say they're just right because they won without Tua.
And they'd be 500 at that point.
Yeah, so I think they're in needs improvement as well, but if they win, they'd get bumped up to just right.
Now, if they lose and they go 1-3,
I
would still say needs improvement.
Yeah, I still wouldn't drop
just
them down.
because of the injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on. The New England Patriots. They are 1-3 now because they lost against the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
I would say they're probably just right.
Yeah, they had really low
I was going to say
expectations.
maybe exceeding expectations, but
Nah.
yeah, They had a close win against the Bengals, but they did get blown out by the Jets. They had a close OT loss against the Seahawks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd still say they're just right.
Yeah, their expectations were very, very low. This is a bridge year to have Drake May, so they're right where they are expected, I think.
All right. And like we said, they lost against San Fran, who's next. Now they're 2-2. You could say they need improvement, but they've had so many injuries throughout the first 4 weeks. So do we put them in just right? But this is also a team that's expected to be also a top tier contender.
Yeah, going back to the Super Bowl. I think they're just right. Dealing with all their injuries. Debo was out. Christian McCaffrey's still out. George Kittle was out. Obviously, their defensive side, they have guys down too, and they still have pulled off a win here and there to get to 2-2 now. Losing to the Rams last week is definitely a heartbreaker for them, but I think they're doing a decent job where they should be right now.
I agree with that. Moving on to the Arizona Cardinals. How about Kyle Murray? He's looked pretty good.
Yeah, and Marvin Harrison Jr., another rookie stud, looking really, really good.
Yeah, they did get blown out to the Commanders, 42-14. The 49ers won against Patriots 30-13. So, with that huge margin of a loss, I would say this team maybe needs improvement, or based on expectations, would you put them just right?
I'd say based on expectations, they're just right. They weren't going to be a playoff team this year. People didn't think so. They've shown flashes of greatness, especially Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. and stuff. But I think they need a whole season under their belt to be able to maybe be better next year.
Now, the Chicago Bears are also a very interesting team because they're only 1 year removed from tanking and getting Caleb Williams. But with all the additions they made in the offseason, there were pretty high expectations. With Caleb Williams being the rookie quarterback, do we put him in just right? Or based on all the offseason additions and then the expectations rising, are they in needs improvement?
I think the expectations for Caleb Williams to be the next Tom Brady right out of college was a little ridiculous. And I think for especially Bears fans to think, oh, the Bears are going into the playoffs, maybe to the Super Bowl this year, was also a little ridiculous. Even though they had these great additions to the team, I personally didn't think the Bears were going to be that good. Caleb hasn't looked great. He hasn't really looked good, let's be honest. But he's a rookie. So I think they're just right.
Now, the Atlanta Falcons, another team that made huge moves in the offseason, signing Kirk Cousins. And they got pretty, I would say, an underrated offense.
Yeah, they just won today.
At this
58-yard field goal to win the game.
With them having a 2-2 record now, do we put them in just right, or based on expectations, do we put them in needs improvement?
I think they're just right. They've had some flashes of looking good. Kirk Cousins had a slow start, but I think he'll get there. And I agree that I think their offense is underrated. Being 2-2 in this NFC South, I think they're just right.
All right, I could agree with that. I could maybe make the argument for needs improvement, but with the games being so close, I think they're just right. Yeah, I agree with you. Now, the Colts, they handed the Steelers today their first loss of the season.
That's right.
27-24.
But Anthony Richardson left the game due to injury. Again, I think they're just right. I think the expectations were that they might be a playoff team this year. But
yeah, I don't think they were expected to like contend for the division.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think they're just right.
All right. I agree with that. The Denver Broncos up next. They won today against the Jets. 10-9.
Yeah, rain-filled.
But the
New York
Jets,
City.
that was off of a missed field goal.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers' reaction was one of all Jets fans. just, are you kidding me? Yeah. So I could make the argument that maybe they're exceeding expectations. Now we could put them in just right, but I could make that argument.
No, I think I would say they are exceeding expectations. Their defense is still top notch, just like it was last year for most of the year. But Bo Nix had a rough start, but he's shown some improvement the last 2 weeks. I mean, today was like a monsoon in New York City or New Jersey, but I think 2-2 for the Broncos, especially after the dead cap from Russell Wilson. That everyone thought the Broncos would just be terrible forever. I think so far. Now it could change in the next 4 games or 8 games, but so far, I think they're exceeding expectations.
All right. Well, there you go, Broncos fans. You're our first exceeding expectations team. Congratulations. But a team that has not exceeded expectations at all, the Dallas Cowboys. I wouldn't put them in abysmal because they have a 2-2 record, so they're just middle of the pack. They almost lost against the Giants, which if they had lost against the Giants and gone 1-3, they might have been abysmal.
Yeah.
But they took the win, just run with it. So I'm going to say they need improvement.
Yeah, I agree. Their expectations were very, very high, even though they did nothing during the offseason.
Like literally nothing.
Yeah, they didn't gain any additions except Ezekiel Elliott.
But they signed Ezekiel Elliott, though.
Yeah, but they did re-sign Dak. He's the highest paid quarterback of all time. They did re-sign CeeDee Lamb and stuff, so their expectations were still super high, Super Bowl contender, but that's their expectations every single year. And I think they need improvement.
Yeah, but I think one of the good things you say about the Cowboys is after getting the extension, I think Dak has played really well. And there's a reason why I put the Cowboys right next to the Eagles, because they go hand in hand.
Yeah, the Eagles need improvement. They are also 2-2. They should have beat the Falcons if Saquon didn't drop the pass to seal the game.
They lost 33-16 against the Bucs on a very, very hot field.
Very hot day in Tampa Bay. We go on and on about the Eagles' problems. We don't have the time for that. So they are definitely needs improvement because the expectations this year were a lot higher.
Yeah. All right, the New York Jets with a healthy Aaron Rodgers and a top-tier defense, and a lot of people picking them to finish out of the AFC in the playoffs. Are they just right, Shay, or do they need improvement?
I think they need improvement. The offense hasn't looked that great, even with Aaron Rodgers. The defense has looked good, but I think they, even though they are 2-2, I think they fall in the needs improvement category.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. So the Packers are up next, and Jordan Love made his return. They almost came back.
4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
Yeah, but they almost came back and beat the Vikings after the Vikings had a 28-0 lead.
Correct.
They lost 31-28.
Yeah.
So very, very close game. Now they were without Jordan Love for week 2 and 3. So,
but they won with Malik Willis, who was amazing.
Yeah. So, are they just right, or are they maybe exceeding expectations?
I wouldn't say that. I would say they're just right.
All right, moving on. The New Orleans Saints. With them losing today against the Falcons, I'm going to say they're just right.
Yeah.
With the 2-2 record.
I agree. After the first 2 weeks, if we did this, yeah, they're on fire. They're the best team in football. But no, I think they're just right.
All right, moving on to the Detroit Lions, who do play tomorrow night against the Seahawks. So right now they're 2-1 as of this recording. I think with the expectations, I think they're also just right.
Yeah, I would say that. But if they lose to the Seahawks, I would say they'd need improvement.
Commanders. Not much was expected of them. Now, were they? First 2 games, I think the second game, 6 field goals to win that game.
Yep.
Like, no signs of offense. But against the Bengals and the Cardinals. Jalen Daniels, like, he's arrived.
Yeah.
This is his coming out party.
Yeah.
So they have a 3-1 record now. Maybe we could make the argument that they're on fire.
I wouldn't say on fire yet. I would say they are definitely exceeding expectations.
At the minimum. But if they have another win,
Yeah, I'd say bump them up.
and they've been close wins, but they've been winning. I mean, they did blow out the Cardinals today, 42-14. But yeah, they've been exceeding expectations for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, up next, the Los Angeles Chargers. They lost against the Chiefs 17-10. So the Chargers are 2-2 now. I'd say they're just right.
Yeah, I would say they're just right. Herbert being hurt. I think Harbaugh's done a good job his first year back in the NFL thus far. Being in a division against the Chiefs, it's going to be very hard no matter what happens. So I think they're just right, 2-2.
Yeah. Moving on, the Houston Texans, the first team off the board to have a 3-1 record. They won last minute against the Jags, as previously mentioned. Based on the expectations, I'd say they're also just right.
Yeah, I agree.
3-1 record. CJ Stroud has looked pretty good so far in his sophomore season. No signs of the sophomore slump. So yeah, just right. Moving on for the Buccaneers now. I will say I think a lot of people were writing off the Buccaneers, even with the moves they made in the offseason.
Correct. Yeah.
With signing Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. They have a 3-1 record too. They beat the Eagles. Are they exceeding expectations?
Yeah, I think so. Baker Mayfield is playing out of his mind right now. So
that's right. Baker's half dozen, baby.
If they didn't lose to the Commanders and they were perfect to start the year, they'd be on fire, in my opinion. But since they did lose, they are 3-1. But they beat the Eagles today. I think they are definitely exceeding expectations.
I would say so. Now the Steelers might be a tough one. They did suffer their first loss of the season, so they are 3-1. They lost against the Colts. We all know like how good their defense is. I don't think they're exceeding expectations because with all the moves they made in the offseason to revamp their offense, bringing in Russell Wilson, for example, I would say they're just right.
Yeah, I think they're just right as well.
They may be teetering on exceeding expectations. If they had won today, maybe I would have put them up there, but I think they're just right.
Yeah.
Now the Seahawks, are they exceeding expectations right now? Now they are 3-0. They play tomorrow against the Lions. If they win against the Lions,
they're exceeding
they're
expectations. I wouldn't say they're on fire yet, only because.
Are you sure?
I am sure. They haven't looked like, oh my god, they're a 4-0 team.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've had the close games against the Patriots. They've had a pretty weak schedule.
Yeah, they're exceeding
I'll say they're exceeding expectations. I'll agree with you. But they have more offense than the Steelers.
Correct, yes.
So far. So the Kansas City Chiefs, they are now 4-0.
That's right.
Because they won against the Chargers. They're just right.
Yeah,
They're expected to be the top team in the league, at least top of the AFC.
Yeah, they're expected. They're not. I think their offense though is below expectations for sure, and Mahomes has come out and said that himself. But they are still 4-0, so they are exactly what everyone thought they would be.
Yeah, and now we have the final two teams, the Buffalo Bills, who are 3-0 and have their game tonight against the Ravens.
Yep.
Even if they lose, I think right now they're on fire because of all the pieces they lost in the offseason. And I wrote them off.
You did.
I didn't say they were gonna like finish last, but I did say that they weren't gonna finish like first in the division.
Yeah, I think they're on fire right now. I would say if they lost to the Ravens, they would get bumped down. They're definitely on fire right now, though. Josh Allen is MVP frontrunner. even though we're 3 games into the year, their expectations were low across the board, but I think they are on fire. Yeah.
And finally, the Minnesota Vikings, they are definitely on fire.
Yeah.
I don't
By
think
far.
anybody expected them to be 4-0 with having Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback. I don't think anybody expected them to be 4-0. The offense has been on fire. The defense has been good. Yeah.
I agree.
There's really much else to say.
They are on fire. Sam Darnold has had his resurgence, and they're the best team in football right now.
Yeah. So there's our list. And as you can see, a lot of the top teams are actually not as high as I expected them to be. So this just shows you like the amount of parity that's in the league.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like I said, this is only the first 4 games of the season. I'm sure as the season goes along, they'll start to, kind of even out, and then we'll see like who the pretenders are, who the contenders are. But yeah, that's our list. Look at it, admire it. If your team is an abysmal, I'm sorry they belong there. There's really no argument. But if you think your team maybe has exceeded expectations and we have them in just right, or maybe they're just right and we have them as needs improvement, or if you disagree with the teams that we have in exceeding expectations, let us know in the comments. Let us know how you feel your team's doing. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure to follow us on all of our socials. That will be linked in the description below. Thank you so much for clicking and watching on this video, and we will see you in the next one.